The Trump administration is reclassifying some forms of marijuana as a less dangerous drug. The acting attorney general signed an order today shifting state licensed medical marijuana from its current Schedule 1 rating, which is on the same level as heroin, to Schedule 3. This catches the federal government up with much of the country. 40 states already have medical marijuana programs. The move gives those more legitimacy, removes some tax burdens on companies, and opens the door for new medical research. The order also affects marijuana extracts and marijuana-derived compounds.
It's been a long road during which millions of people have found relief using cannabis, and the federal government has insisted that no such relief happens. And so this is in fact a big step, but it's also only the first step toward moving this to some resolution.
The order does not reclassify recreational marijuana, which is legal in about half the country, but the administration did set a hearing this summer to evaluate broader changes to the drug's status under federal law. The University of Minnesota's Cannabis Research Center says that the change in classification for marijuana could improve research in the fields of medicine and public health. The CRC conducts research on the public health effects of cannabis to help inform public policy and help Minnesotans make informed choices. If the drug is reclassified as Schedule 3, it could also make new funding sources available for that research, even if the products still aren't legalized federally. It could also allow researchers access to the same types of marijuana products that patients are using in their state, rather than relying on what was previously allowed federally, allowing for more scrutiny of different types of marijuana products.
What medical cannabis patients are accessing and using in Minnesota may be quite different. It could allow researchers to conduct studies that better reflect the real world.
If the federal government applies a similar change for recreational marijuana, the center says it could allow for more in-depth consumer protection studies. For example, the CRC regularly conducts studies simulating hemp product purchases to test safeguards for keeping THC away from underage consumers. With a change in recreational classification, it could expand those studies to include actual cannabis.